Hi! A friend recently asked if I would be willing to conduct an experiment where I restring half of the strings on a racket while recycling the other half of strings already in a racket. My first reaction? Why would anybody want to do this? Apparently it's a topic that's been discussed in message boards, and here are 3 of those comments. Is it safe to cut out the string on the mains but leave the crosses and then string the mains? Logic would state that it's not structurally safe for a racket to be strung in this fashion due to the stress caused by the string tension if only the cross strings were left in the frame. In other words, the main strings are always installed first, then the cross string second. So if the mains are removed, then the crosses would be in place, but then the mains would be installed second. I normally use a full set of gut, but I strung one of my rackets with Luxilon mains and Clip Legend gut crosses. I decided I don't like it and I don't want to waste the gut. Has anyone cut out the mains, left the crosses, and restrung the mains only? I have cut out the crosses and left the mains in before, and it worked fine. I understand the intent here because the cost of natural gut. Regarding this person cutting out the crosses and leaving the mains, that would be fine because you would be removing the strings installed second, as I mentioned earlier. However, if this person wants to pursue cutting out the mains, 3 conditions would have to be met. 1, the racket is his and he's willing to take the risk. 2, the racket is mounted securely in the stringing machine before removing the mains. And 3, the racket was previously strung with the crosses tied off on a cross string. I've only done this a few times, but once in a gut poly hybrid where I felt the poly had effectively died, but the tonic still had a lot of life left, minimal fraying, and the cost of gut, I didn't want to just cut it out. I clamped the racket in my stringer, cut out the crosses, and restrung with fresh crosses of the same string. It felt and played overall better after putting in the new crosses. In this video, I plan to experiment similarly in this fashion. However, before I go any further, this is not a practice I would recommend, and I would be using my friend's rackets along with my own in this experiment. We'll find out if replacing only the cross strings affect the overall string job and the performance of our rackets. All right, let's go inside. All right, so this racket is my friend Errol's racket, and before I removed the crosses, you can see I mounted it in my stringer machine, and I'm taking the length and the width because I want to keep track of if there's any kind of deformity in the racket after I remove the crosses. I wanted to make sure that I take a note of that. So you can see that I cut the bottom cross, and I'm gonna continue this process from the bottom up because I want to reverse the process of how the strings were installed. So I'm removing the knot there, and I'm going to continue to cut 1 string at a time and remove 2 crosses at the same time. His string setup is a polyester main. It's a Signum Pro Poly Plasma in 17 gauge, and his crosses is a Gosen Micro Sheep 16 synthetic gut. All right, so once I removed all the crosses, I wanted to reconfirm the dimensions of the racket. I measured the length and the width to make sure that the racket didn't deform in any way. And I was happy to see that it didn't. So the next thing I did is I grabbed my string meter, and what I wanted to find out was the tension of just the mains. And I'll be sharing this in the readings that I have later. But just showing you what I did here, I'm taking the measurement of the four, actually the 8 center mains, four on the left, four on the right. You'll notice that I have some painter's tape at the 3 and 9 o'clock areas of the frame. And what I wanted to do is make sure that when I'm taking these readings, I'm following along that axis. So I'm going to take the readings and average them out to get the string tension. So next I had to clean the strings. The reason for that is Errol had a stencil on his strings, so that didn't make it easy. So I have a rag here with isopropyl alcohol, and I wanted to clean the strings to make them look brand new because his other racket will be strung with the same string setup, of course with brand new strings. So I wanted to make sure that he couldn't see the difference. But there were some notches in the string, and you'll see some of the white marks here in this picture. And I wanted to make sure that when I install the crosses that I install them within those notches so that he wouldn't be able to see it if I install it the opposite way. So I went ahead and repeated the process with my rackets, and I had a stencil on mine too, so I had to clean that off. And I'll share some initial readings after stringing all of these rackets. All right, so let's first take a look at Errol's racket. And he is using a Prince Phantom 100P, which has a 16-18 string pattern. And so his string setup is a polyester main, synthetic cross, tension 40-45. The age of the strings was 2 months old. And the DT came out at 24, string bed deflection 32. The string meter reading is when the crosses were still installed in the racket, and I got 43 on the mains, 33 on the crosses. And then I actually took a reading of the main strings when I removed the crosses. So that's when I got 26 here. Now these two rows here is the rackets after I strung them. So this one is in red because this is the same racket here. So, and then this bottom one is the one with the brand new string. So we're going to compare these two rackets now. I kept the reference tension the same at 40-45. Again, the mains is 2 months old. Crosses are brand new. This one, everything was brand new. So let's look at the DT reading first. And this one came out higher, 32, and this was 31. And the string tension below is always going to follow the DT. So, and also what I had here is the string bed deflection, 49 and 46. This plus 3 is the difference between the two rackets. So this one was higher at 3 units, and this one was higher by 1 unit also. Now on the string meter reading here, I got plus 1 here, plus 6 here, and on this last column here, I have plus 6 here. So this one makes sense that it is definitely higher because of the fact that this is the mains by itself, and these are brand new mains versus mains that are 2 months old. So I have a theory why this racket, which is 2 months older, is higher. It is surprising, but let me bring my racket into the picture. All right, so for my racket, I'm using a Prince Phantom 100G that has a 16-18 string pattern, so that's similar to Errol's racket. However, my string setup is a poly hybrid. The tension on my racket, I usually string it in the 40s, so that's at 42. My strings were about a month old, and my DT came out at 24, my string bed deflection 31. I did the mains and crosses here, not as important right now, but this was a number here that I took when I removed the crosses, and I got 25 on this. So these two rackets, again, like the top, are the readings I got after I strung the racket. So this one in yellow here is the same racket. So reference tension is still at 42. Remember, I have the mains at 1 month old, and the crosses are brand new. This bottom one is all brand new. And let's take a look at the comparison between the DT reading first. So you can see that this new strings actually came out 1 unit higher this time. To me, that made sense. String bed deflection, it came out exactly the same at 44. And the string meter reading with the crosses in, this one came out higher, 2 units higher on the mains and crosses. And this number here, the 32, came out 7 pounds higher than the one that was 1 month old. So in both rackets, this reading and this reading makes sense because again, the strings are by itself, and these are brand new strings versus strings that were much older. Now, the theory that I have, and again, this is surprising. I would have thought that the racket strung with brand new strings would have had consistent readings higher. But my theory is that the two rackets that had the strings that were older were already notched, and although Errol's had slightly bigger notches, I think it's similar to how grommets are seated and how they come out, about a pound or so tighter. So that might have played a part in this, and the reason why the tension readings were a little bit tighter. I can see that in the string meter, especially because when the notches are in the strings, it's a little bit harder for that string meter to move the string. So I can see that here. But again, it's shocking to see that the rackets that had strings that were recycled, that were 1 month and 2 months old, were actually tighter than the ones that were brand new. All right, we're here on the court. We just finished the match, and my friend Errol is the one that let me borrow his rackets, and he's the one that suggested this video. So I handed his rackets back to him. He doesn't know which one is which. So Errol, what did you do with your rackets, or how much did you play with it this week?
Played a match today and then a match last weekend, plus practice with my ball machine yesterday. So that's how much time I've spent with the rackets.
Yeah, so I did about the same, although I know which racket is the one that I did with the used strings. I played a couple sets this week, and we just finished a match, so about 4 sets. And so what was your take on the two rackets? And he doesn't know which one is which, so.
Yeah, so Albert's done a great job restringing my rackets, and when he handed me the rackets, I couldn't tell which one was which. And also they're equally balanced, they're identical basically in everything, in every aspect of it, so on every respect. So I couldn't really tell which one was which. And when I played with them, same thing, I couldn't tell. So I would just switch back and forth. One set would be one racket, then I'd pick up the other racket, and then I would just do that for the matches that I played today and also from last weekend.
Yeah, so Errol, I know which one is which, and so could you tell which one was maybe tighter?
Honestly,
or can you guess? Or
honestly, I couldn't tell the difference. They played identical. There's no difference. They feel exactly the same.
okay, because in the test, one of them was slightly tighter, so I'll reveal which one it is.
Okay.
So the one with the lead tape
Okay.
on the top is the one that I strung with the 2-month-old main strings, and
Okay.
I replaced the crosses.
Okay.
So that. And as for mine, to be honest, I wanted to like the new strings because I just think it should play better. But to be honest, I couldn't really tell the difference. So that's the story about changing your cross strings.
Yeah.
Maybe another future video, we could try and change the main strings, but
Yeah.
that's gonna not be good for the racket, although. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I was thinking that maybe there would be something that I'd be able to discern between the two rackets.
All right, so here are my final readings, and I thought it would be interesting to see how the strings would behave over a 1 week period. So I have both rackets here, and this fresh column is right off the machine. And I have a 1 day reading and a 1 week reading. So let's get into this 1 day reading here. So we're going to start with Errol's rackets, and you can see that the 2-month-old strings I had a 6% loss here, and I just averaged it out, the DT and the 44 is the string tension, and it was pretty similar, so I just went with this number. So we got 6 and 8 versus the new string at 10 and 15. So this string was already kind of stretched out, so that would explain why these numbers are less than strings that are freshly the new strings. And then a week later, you could see that this actually dropped a little bit more. So from 6 to 13, that's double. The 8 to 14 is almost double, whereas the 10 to 13 and the 15 to 20 is not quite double. But you can see that the overall DT is still higher. It did maintain that, and string tension, even the string bed deflection here. So it still did end up tighter after a 1 week period. And let's take a look at my racket, and you can see that there was hardly any loss of tension or DT after 1 day at 3%, 5% here. And you can see the difference here on brand new strings that were similar, not similar readings, but quite different. And then a week later, you can see that from that 3% it jumped to 11, which I thought was kind of a lot. And then this 5 jumped all the way to 18, which is in both cases about triple. And then for the brand new strings, it went from 10 to 19, 14 to 20. But again, it's the bottom line is that the DT and the N, this one still ended up higher. The string tension also was higher, and the string bed deflection was higher. So there's a lot of numbers here, but in the end, I think it's this 1 week period that we wanted to make sure that I had enough information so that Errol and I could really try and see if we could actually feel the difference. But as you can see from what we experienced, we couldn't feel the difference.
I was really hoping there would be something that would at least clue me in, but there was absolutely zero difference that I could sense personally between the two rackets.
Again, I want to thank Errol for suggesting this video content and for letting me experiment on his racket. So this is a fun play test.
Yeah. I think it's a good idea to do this because there's always been a lot of chatter online about, anecdotally, why you should replace both strings when one breaks. So I figured, okay, nothing's actually been done empirically about it. So I figured I'd ask our expert here, Albert, to do the test with me, and that's okay with him. And he was kind enough to do that with me. And I think at least, we've done something that we could offer people to at least think about or consider.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. So I'll say, thanks for watching. And you say, happy stringing.
Happy stringing.
And then we're gonna ding it 3 times. We're gonna high five it. Like,
1, 2, 3. Oh, okay,
and then
gotcha.
we'll say, let your strings play.
Okay. Oh, okay. Let your strings play. Okay.
Thanks for watching. So you're gonna say the happy stringing.
Happy stringing.
Yeah.
Happy stringing.
Yeah. Thanks for watching.
Happy stringing.
And let your
strings play.
Thanks for watching.
Happy stringing. Let your strings play.